Welcome, friends, to my masterclass on 5 steps to sustainable work-life balance. We are going to talk about why working harder isn't fixing your burnout. Now, this is not a medical lecture, okay? You do not need to take notes. You are more than welcome to. I want you, if you can, to be present with me here. Grab a cup of tea or coffee. Give yourself permission to fully soak in the information I'm about to teach you. This is what I teach my one-on-one clients, my group coaching clients, and I'm sharing it with you today for free because it is so important. It's so important for your health, your joy, your purpose, and your wealth. I'm going to give you radical permission to stop feeling guilty and shameful. And I'm going to show you how to break out of that cycle of burnout, fear, and step into the woman that you want to be, a woman in medicine. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with you. You are operating from a place of burnout and you are not alone. I start with this coaching framework with everyone. I want you to think about this framework. Our thoughts create our emotions and thereby our actions. Okay, thoughts create emotions and our actions. What creates our thoughts? Let's start with that. It's our identity. For so long, many of us have identified with overachievement, perfectionism, people pleasing, perhaps eldest daughter syndrome. That is certainly me. You are constantly saying yes, seeing how you can help everyone, being the first one to be there for someone, trying to do it all, and you do it all so well, and you carry it well. But you weren't born stressed out and burned out. Most of us were born as free-spirited, very imaginative, playful children. But along the way, we've been conditioned to be perfectionists. We were rewarded for overworking, and this reinforced an identity that worked to get us to where we are now, but now it's burning us out. So I want you to remember that our identity shapes our thoughts and thereby influences our emotions and actions. It's all about our thoughts, our mindset, and that's the power we draw out in coaching. And that's what we'll do over the next 45 minutes. You will leave this class understanding how to create sustainable work-life balance as a woman in healthcare without caring less, without quitting medicine or changing your job or needing to get a side gig. Okay, so I want to know from you, if you are in a spot where you can grab your phone or write it down, what is your number one challenge? I want you to start getting things out of your head and onto paper, and that actually helps start to reduce our cognitive and mental load. What is your number one challenge? I asked many of you to fill out a pre-class survey, and these were the most common challenges I heard. I can't turn off my brain. Work follows me home, charting inboxes, medical legal worries, unfinished tasks are running in the background constantly, leaving me mentally drained and unable to be present with my family. Constant guilt. I feel constantly guilty at work and at home for not doing enough or if I rest. I always feel behind and never done. I have long hours, unpredictable schedules, endless admin tasks, and it just never feels like I can get on top of it. I'm burning out and losing motivation to stay in medicine. I just want to be more peaceful and more present with my family. I want to have more energy for myself too, to take care of myself. The good news is, if you have had any of these thoughts, you are not alone, number one. Number two, these are all fixable. There is a solution, and I'm going to give you the frameworks and starting steps. I want to nudge you, though, to realize that this class is going to give you awareness and tools, but awareness alone will not create change. Taking action creates change. Okay, action breeds a new identity that leads you to less burnout and more freedom and flexibility. It's kind of like listening to a podcast. It feels really good for that hour. And then a few days later, you're back to square one, right? Doing the inner work and taking action means perhaps getting in the reps, having a mentor, a coach, working with a community of medicine, women in medicine to stop those tendencies that have gotten you here, like people pleasing, overachieving, putting ourselves last, putting our health last. So I'm going to give you the awareness. And after today, it's up to you if you'd like to take the action to create the change. I want you to step back and imagine a future like this: waking up with peace and presence instead of dread and anxiety about the clinic day, leading your team in clinic with confidence, seeing your calendar reflect your priorities. At work, you feel like your time is worth it. Like, my time away from my kids has to be worth it, right? You're satisfied. You've learned how to seamlessly transition from work to home life. And you have time and energy to be present with your kids and with yourself. This future is not some crazy imagined future. This can be your future through awareness first and then putting it into action. Okay, so this is the formula, guys. This is the formula that I share with all my coaching clients to get more clarity, confidence, and peace. Again, I'm sharing it with you today for free. This is my foundation, what I call the 4 corners of health and wealth. Okay. When you work on all these 4 corners, you start to have that complete feeling of not just looking successful. We look successful, a lot of us do on paper, but also feeling successful and enjoying that success. Okay. We often think being happier, healthier, and more balanced needs to be really complicated. If someone is complicating something, that means that they're not an expert in that area. Okay. This is simple and realistic. Okay. So, how do we get more clarity, confidence, and peace? Let's go through what I call the 4 corners. Okay. So, number 1 is you need good physical health. Okay. You need your physical body, your container for life, to feel good, to get stronger, to gain muscle. You need to rest your body, right? So you can enjoy your golden years, not just make it to your golden years. Okay. So we talk about physical health in my burnout program because to address burnout, we have to address our physical health. We want to get physically stronger. Mindset health. This is a big focus of coaching, right? We need the mindset tools so we can overcome perfectionism, compassion fatigue, rumination about upcoming cases or tests. There are so many studies in positive psychology that showcase how we become what our mind focuses on. It's pretty cool. In 2001, there was a longitudinal study on 180 Catholic nuns. And what they found was they looked at their journals that the nuns knew they were, going to be sharing their journals. And they noticed in the nuns' journals that had positive emotional content, it actually correlated with longevity. So how each nun described her emotions, her activities, her viewpoints, the coding of positive, neutral, and negative descriptions, researchers found that nuns with the highest number of positive writings lived an average of 6 years longer than the nuns that had the lowest number of positive writings. American psychologist Martin Seligman also conducted several studies in different populations and found similar results. So the pattern is clear. And what he concludes is that pessimism is like smoking 2.5 packs of cigarettes a day. Optimism, focusing on a growth mindset, can actually help us live longer, healthier, and happier lives. Okay, so that's mindset health. Next is your spiritual health. Okay, this is your purpose. Studies have shown if you exercise steps towards your purpose each day, not what you should do, but your why, that breeds happiness and thereby success. Okay. So our last piece of health is our social health. We don't really talk about this in medicine, right? Medical culture trains us to isolate ourselves, not talk about our feelings, try to fit in, go to the library, miss out in your 20s, miss out on stuff with your friends and family. But it's so interesting because now we have a lot of bodies of studies that show that the healthiest and happiest 80 to 90-year-olds are the ones that have a healthy social life. And having a healthy social life doesn't mean that you're like a social butterfly, that you're an extrovert. I am very much an introvert. A healthy social life means that you have meaningful connection every day for 10 minutes with a loved one, with a friend, with a new business connection, whatever it might be. That is social health. There's a lot of great studies by Robert Waldinger, a professor at Harvard, that I highly recommend checking out. So, when you focus on these four corners of your health and your wealth, you get clarity, confidence, and peace. It's that simple. All right. Before we continue to dive in, who am I? Let me tell you a few quick things about me because I know some of you are wondering who is talking up here. I am Shawnee. I'm a board certified ophthalmologist, fellowship trained retina specialist. I still work part-time. I have a husband who was my college sweetheart. He's also in medicine, so we get each other. And I'm a mom to two girls. Now they are ages 6 and 9. One of them was my residency baby. I'm a practicing physician and a certified health and well-being coach. I'm also board certified in lifestyle medicine because I really wanted to learn all the things we should have learned in medical school about how to take care of our health. And that's what we were just talking about, the four corners of health. I bring my background, my own burnout experience, and evidence-based frameworks to help women in medicine feel better, enjoy more joy and happiness in medicine. Many of you have met me on social media. You see me meal prepping and working out at 5 a.m. and glorifying my amazing sleep. But I want to tell you, until 2023, about 3 years ago, I never worked out consistently. I lived off the processed clinic snacks, diet pop, caffeine, dry shampoo, and I was using my weekends to recover, not rest. One day, my husband had to pick me up from the ER. This is a picture. This was actually taken back in 2023, one day apart. Okay, so on one side of the screen, I look successful. I'm operating. This is me at the height of my career. Everything I had worked so hard to do. I was doing 20 cataract surgeries a day, seeing 40 patients in clinic. I was mentoring students, leading research projects, talking at national conferences. I never disconnected. I worked nights and weekends. I barely saw my husband and kids. I would leave the house at 7 a.m. and get home at 6 p.m. I had a hard time sleeping. I'd wake up at 2 a.m. ruminating about my patients. I felt anxious when I woke up or going to clinic, and that just wasn't me. I'm typically a go-getter, optimistic type person, and I started dreading going into clinic. I even had unexplained GI upset and had a totally normal colonoscopy. One day, my body caught up to me, and my body decided I was going to the ER. So this is a picture of me. The next day after operating, my husband had to come pick me up and take me to the ER with the worst headache of my life. I was convinced something was terribly wrong with me. They did head imaging, blood tests. I couldn't drive my kids for a week. I was on medications that I'd never been on. I didn't operate. I canceled my clinic. It was really scary. To my dismay, my diagnosis came back as everything was totally normal. I was exhausted and burnt out and quite ashamed. So I rested. I picked myself back up, got board certified in lifestyle medicine, learned how to slow down. And we're going to talk about the frameworks that pulled me out of burnout and that have helped my clients who might not be burnt out but are feeling near burnout. The reason I tell you this, my story, is because if you resonate with that version of me, living off processed clinic snacks, ruminating at 2 a.m., you can absolutely change. I'm not special. If I can change, you can change, because I don't carry that identity anymore of imposter syndrome, low confidence, dread. I carry what I call the healthy and wealthy attending mindset. And we're going to talk more about that. I have been a certified coach since June of 2023. This is just a snapshot of how many women I've been honored to work with. I have women who come to my group coaching and one-on-one programs. I have lots and lots of healthier and happier clients Does the change come overnight from coaching? No. It comes through intention, accountability, and support. As you can see, many happy clients. Is it worth it? That's up to you to decide. A lot of women come to me, and just within a few weeks, like this client here, after 6 weeks of coaching, I'm happier, energetic, motivated, focused. The list goes on. I'm enjoying time with my kids. Everyone around me, especially my husband, can see big changes after starting this program. Another client said, 2025 is my transformative year. I am so much happier. I just wish I had started coaching sooner. Another client said she had more self-compassion towards herself. So I just wanted to share some success stories because it's not just me. This can be you too. So let's get into the 5 steps to sustainable work-life balance. Okay. Step 1, clarity. Why did I look successful on the outside, but physically and mentally, I didn't feel successful? It was incompetence. I had done all the tests, seen thousands of patients, done hundreds of procedures. It's because you cannot build a sustainable career in medicine on the foundation of a stressed and dysregulated nervous system. A lot of you desire mental clarity and calm. You look successful on paper, but are exhausted. You deeply want permission to create a life that feels lighter, calmer, and more intentional. And it all starts with regulating your nervous system. You might have heard some of this on Instagram or social media, but we really should have learned about this in medical school, and we'll get more into that. Another way to look at what happens to a lot of us, a lot of women come to me in years 3 through 5 out of training or years 10 through 12. What's happening is we have ingrained this med student mindset where our baseline is operating off of stress, right? We are promised to get from point A to point B if we pass tests, get letters of recommendation, do community service projects, or at the top of our class. If we hustle, we people please, we sacrifice sleep, we disconnect from our emotions, our personalities, and bodies to fit in, right? Eat when you can, sleep when you can, go to the bathroom when you can. That's the med student mindset. And it worked, and it got us to where we are now, but now we are in our early to mid career. And the path to feeling good and enjoying that success feels murky. We feel stuck in burnout. And we keep using those med student habits, right? Of doing more, of overextending ourselves, of people pleasing. But that doesn't feel good anymore. And it's mentally and physically wearing us down. We see more patients. We say yes to more cases. We do more unpaid extracurriculars because we think it'll get us more success, or we think that's what we should do. And we're stuck in a stress and anxiety loop. And this is costing us time, energy, and presence. So how do we get to this healthy and wealthy attending mindset where our path is clear again? It's by shedding old identities, creating new identities, and creating new habits that serve us. It all starts with understanding our nervous system. So you might have heard of the polyvagal theory. This explains how our nervous system actually is constantly scanning for threats and perceived safety. And it moves our body unknowingly into different states, okay? So one state is our green light state. This is where we experience safety. We're in the green zone. This is really a nice place to be. We feel connected. We are relaxed. We make leadership decisions. We enjoy patient encounters. The green feels good. And it's so interesting because a lot of us don't really notice when we are in the green, okay? So being aware of our body and our mind can help us to notice, oh yeah, I'm in the green state. This feels great. Let me soak this in a little bit more. It's really interesting because I got an Aura ring recently, and it tells you how stressed you are. And on the days I'm in clinic, I actually have like zero stress. On the days that I do my kids drop off and pick up, I have a lot more stress. So that's me noticing when I'm in the green. Now, the yellow light state, this is where we are in our fight or flight state. This is where our body is perceiving danger, and we have accelerated heart rate, sweating, tense muscles, tight neck. A lot of us are living in this fight or flight state, And it could also look like something called a fawn state, where we were people pleasing. For example, when our chief asks us to take on a new project without any extra admin time or pay, and we say yes, right? Because we're just like knee-jerk response. Or a colleague asks us to switch a shift, even though deep down we know that conflicts with the family engagement, and we say yes. Or adding on one more patient, even though they were not NPO, and so now we have to delay our time at work and miss, daycare pickup again. This is us in our fight or flight state. We are constantly perceiving threats all around us. Our yellow light state is our freeze state. This is where we feel helpless, trapped, complete shutdown. We might dissociate or withdraw. Okay. This is me in my yellow light state. Well, I don't look like it. I look like I'm in the green light. Inside, I was feeling like I was in the yellow light, constantly wondering, am I going to make a mistake? Am I going to disappoint someone? And then the next day I was in my red light state, right? I was in total paralysis. I felt helpless. A panic attack could be a red light state as well. And so what did I do from here? Well, we're going to get into that more, but I just wanted you to start to understand your different states and think about where you are during the day. Are you in the red light? Are you in a yellow light? When are you in the green? You've probably before told yourself, maybe something's wrong with me. Why can't I handle this? Or maybe you've told yourself, I just need to try harder. I'm lazy. Or maybe you've said, I just need a spa day. I need to take PTO, but then you dread coming back to work. Or maybe you've said, I just need to quit medicine. Maybe I'm not meant to be here. Okay. This, again, is our nervous system questioning us. And what we need to remind our nervous system is we belong here. We've done the test. We've seen the patients. We are good enough. Okay. I want you to realize that the number one thing keeping you stuck is your nervous system, not the medical and healthcare system. Yes, our healthcare system is broken. There's lots of things that need to get fixed. But one thing that is keeping us stuck from making medicine work for us is our nervous system. Okay. There is nothing wrong with you. Okay. You don't need to beat yourself up. We get stuck in our brains because our brains have these thoughts, and we are wired towards something called the negativity bias, where we hyper focus on what's not going right, even though when so much around us is going really well. And when we focus on the negativity bias, we go into something called the anxiety spiral. The negativity bias is an evolutionary survival mechanism. Back in our hunter-gatherer days, it served us well for our brain to spot danger. If we were hunting and gathering and there was a rustling in the bushes, it was safe to assume that that could be a saber-toothed tiger rather than brushing it off. This hypervigilance kept our ancestors alive, and thereby they passed their survival genes on to us. Fast forward to today, and we are still wired the same way, but the threats are different. The tiger isn't real. It's a patient complaint that hasn't happened just yet, or maybe never will. A complication that you already managed, but you can't stop thinking about it. A lawsuit that only exists in your imagination. That is the negativity bias in action. It's why one critical thought can cancel out the joy of 10 successful surgeries that day. It's not that you're feeling or overly anxious. It's just how your brain's been wired. One more EMR message sends you into a rage. A calendar conflict puts you into an anxiety spiral. That's why even positive feedback can feel like pressure to perform rather than a job well done. Okay. It goes on at home, overanalyzing a text from a friend or a partner, laying awake, replaying something that your child's teacher said at pickup. We are constantly in a yellow light state. That's why we feel wired and tired, right? We're overstimulated, exhausted. Okay. So nothing wrong with you. The good news is the sky isn't the limit. Your nervous system capacity is. You can rewire those evolutionary mechanisms that are at play. Okay. We can use our thoughts instead to create positive emotions and thereby actions that lead to our success in our health, career, and personal life. This is what I call the success spiral. It's the antidote to the anxiety spiral where the negativity bias is at play. Okay. Neither of these spirals is good or bad. It's just important to notice what nervous system state am I in? What thoughts are serving me? What stories am I telling myself? Okay. Your nervous system response is there for a response. And you should be able to toggle between yellow light and green light states. The key is if you're feeling stuck, this is where you can regulate your nervous system through understanding your thoughts. That's called metacognition. But when we're chronically stressed, the anxiety spiral is in control. That's our default system. Again, that's how we were wired. So when we're tired, this is what we default to. When you have capacity to take care of your nervous system, you can say no without spiraling with guilt. You can step into a high pressure leadership meeting and still feel grounded. You can log off at 5 p.m. and feel done with your day and connect with your family. Once you start recognizing the thoughts that are sending you into the anxiety spiral or into the success spiral, you can start to calm your nervous system and retrain your brain towards balance rather than burnout. The tool to bridge the gap, that's what we'll talk about as we keep going on with the 5 steps. So first step is clarity about our nervous system, okay? Second step is being brave, being a rule breaker. I know I'm an eldest daughter. I am totally not a rule breaker. So how do we do this? How do we be brave? This is how. I want you to ask yourself, what do you want? What do I want? No one asks us this, but it's so important and a crucial step when designing your life in medicine after training. What do you want? Feel free to take a few seconds to write it down. It's perfectly normal and acceptable to have different priorities than you did 10 plus years ago when you started in medical training. A lot of us feel this push and pull, and it's something called cognitive dissonance. What you want is different than when you started medical training, and that's okay. But we get stuck in this cognitive dissonance, this push and pull, especially if we become parents, right? This internal tension between our work life and our home life, between our identities and our priorities, and the life that you're actually living. And when we have that misalignment, that causes stress, okay? So for a lot of us, we feel this push and pull between being an attending, being a wife. Maybe we're a creative or an athlete or an educator or researcher, a mom, okay? I value being present with my kids, but I'm always charting at night. I believe in wellness and boundaries, but I say yes to everything at work. I work so hard to become a doctor. Why do I want less of this? That discomfort that you feel isn't failure. It's because you are growing. You are growing beyond your role of being a physician. And that is a beautiful thing, but it can be uncomfortable at first. Okay. What gets in the way of us growing? Again, it's our nervous system. Our nervous system is wired to keep us surviving and safe, right? And so the rumination, the anxiety, the people pleasing, the perfectionism creep start to come in when we have these thoughts of designing a life that works for us, for following our creative passions, for going part-time, for negotiating our worth, for setting down boundaries. When you recognize that that's your nervous system, it's so freeing when you figure that out, okay? Because now you are going to know how to work through that and that there's nothing wrong with you. This is totally normal to want to grow, okay? But then what about all the tasks, right? Can I have this all and do it all? A lot of you told me I feel trapped by my schedules. I constantly worry about my patients, worry about getting sued. I don't have time to work out because I have a newborn and a full-time schedule. My admin won't approve me going part-time, so I won't even ask. I want you, if you feel called out right now, I want you to know that I'm calling you up, not calling you out. Stop being a victim to your brain stories. Those things that you've told me are thoughts that you are having, right? But thoughts aren't necessarily the facts. Usually they're fiction, right? If you think you're being underpaid at work and you've seen your production, your RVUs, you're not crazy. You are being underpaid. If you don't like your hours at work, no one's ever going to say, hey, Shawnee, I think you should cut back your hours. I think you should work less. I think you should, take an hour for lunch. You are an adult. You're no longer a trainee. You can change your hours. Does that sound crazy? Absolutely. But again, that's our nervous system trying to keep us safe. Our thoughts are simply thoughts. They are not the facts. And most time they are fiction, right? You can rewrite your story. Okay. And a lot of us sometimes in our own stories treat ourselves as the victim in our stories. But you absolutely can create new rules. Rules are created by humans, which means we can create new rules because you are human too. We forget that at the end of the day, we care for humans and we are human too. So what do I mean by step 2 being brave? It's by breaking the rules and making them work for you. When you start to break the rules and envision your future, what does this look like? In coaching, we create a 1 to 5 year plan, and then we break it down into a 3-month plan, and then even smaller into a weekly goal. This is an example of a client who just recently emailed me. I got my 0.5 FTE and a 30% raise. She was at 0.8 FTE previously and desired more freedom and flexibility, but she didn't want to quit medicine. We'd been working together for about 6 months on nervous system, mindset, boundaries, and this was just the cream on top. Okay. Another client emailed me about negotiating towards partnership in her practice. She enjoyed motherhood, but she wanted more freedom and flexibility for her time away from her kids to be worth it. And she also wanted to work on her health. And so when she stopped being in that anxiety spiral and started asking for things at work and advocating for herself, she got answers about her partnership. And she also started putting that energy towards her health, and her neck and back pain are improving too. Okay. So many things are possible by the power of your mindset and through accountability and support. Step 3, ego. So remember when I mentioned our brains like to tell us stories? Our nervous system is trying to keep us safe. We want to be in the green light state, but a lot of us are hovering in that yellow to red light state. What is blocking us? Sometimes we try to be not the victim in our stories, but the hero in our stories. We overdo, we overthink, we overcommit, we forget that we're human because we've been put through traumatic experiences where we had to rise to the occasion and sacrifice sleep and time with loved ones for another person's life over ourselves, over and over and over again. And that leads to living with trauma in our bodies, mental and physical depletion, right? I completely ignored signs of my mental and physical depletion, and it affected my family too. That's what drove me into this red light state, tipped me over the edge. Okay, in medicine, we don't talk about our traumas and share that process grief of seeing patients go through really hard things, through death, through cancer, through losing a child. And so we have to start listening to our mind and body, reconnect to our mind and body again, and listen to when our ego is taking the driver's seat. Is it scary to let go of your ego if your ego is blocking you from what you actually want? Absolutely, but it's so freeing. My ego was getting in the way of me letting go of cataract surgery. I was really good at cataract surgery and I could still pick it up again. I had a very low complication rate. Patients were coming to me. I was becoming, making a name for myself. But I really, at the heart of hearts, what did I want? I wanted less time at work, more freedom and flexibility. And I really enjoyed retina. That's what I'm fellowship trained in. So I made the hard decision in 2022, after this whole thing in the ER, to let go of cataract surgery. It had been such a big part of my identity and my training. So it was really hard to let go. But once I faced that truth, it has been so freeing. I also opened a concierge practice, and it was open for a couple of years. But then I faced the truth that I really didn't want to be a practice owner. I thought that's what I wanted, but when I did it, it didn't align anymore. So I faced my ego and I closed a concierge practice. Now in 2026, I'm working part time. I'm making double what I did when I was a full time physician from my physician salary. And I'm growing a coaching business and serving more women in medicine, enjoying more time with my kids, traveling more, taking on more hobbies, all because I faced my ego, right? You have to see your own worth. And how do you do that? How do you see your own worth? It's by not tying it to things that you think you should do, like like tying it to cataract surgery. That is not part of my journey anymore. Maybe it will be in the future. You practice letting go of your worth, decoupling your identity from things that you think you should be doing. Okay. Think about what you want to do. Also, think about athletes, right? Athletes practice and practice and practice. This takes practice letting go of ego. Okay. Thinking about the shoulds. Shoulds is considered like the word should is like one of the most harmful one of the most harmful words in the English language because it creates anxiety, shame, and feelings of inadequacy. Okay. And imposes unrealistic expectations on ourselves. So when we start letting go of the shoulds, we start accepting reality, letting go of our ego, start feeling more free. Number 4, slowing down. I know this sounds scary. It sounds impossible, but this is exactly why this is the next step in work-life balance. Remember that med student mindset. It got us here, but it's burning us out and it's not sustainable. It's not about working harder and doing more. It's about working smarter. How do we work smarter? It's by slowing down, doing less, saying no. I love this visual here. You can keep going, 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 and you can quit. That's an option. Or you can learn how to rest. And then it's more sustainable to keep going, more enjoyable. You enjoy more creativity when you slow down. And that's how you work smarter. This is scary and it takes trust. And this is where working in a group community with other women who are doing it and with a coach can be so helpful to keep you on the right track when your nervous system is like, nope, you need to start going like an Energizer bunny again and say yes to all the things and answer all your emails immediately. No one told us how to do this, how to slow down. The healthcare system really benefits from us pounding the pavement. So you don't hear your admin, your bosses, your CEOs of your hospitals saying, slow down, do less. I've seen this work for me, for my clients, and other coaching colleagues too. This is what helps us rewire our nervous system. It's simple, but it's not easy. Let's not confuse that. You've been told you're a team player. You're the best at what you do. It's best for the patients and for the department. And so when you get asked for that leadership position or you get asked to do more because a colleague left, because you're a team player and you're good at what you do, or you get voluntold to head a committee. When you agree to those things that you actually don't want to agree to, this is fawning. This is our yellow light state. This is our default. When you say yes, but you really mean no, you're saying, I'm okay with being undervalued and overworked. Let's rewire that. When you do rewire this mindset muscle, you will successfully negotiate your worth, lay down boundaries that stick, and have more time and energy. How do we do this practically? How do we start slowing down? One is writing down your identity. I keep going back to identity because our identity creates our thoughts, our emotions, and thereby actions. I want you to write down who you are, your core values, okay? Not who you should be, not the eldest daughter syndrome, perfectionism creep. What version do you want to see of yourself in 1 to 5 years as a healthy, wealthy attending? Okay. Step number 2 is rest and play. Yes, I said play. This is how you activate your creativity, your right brain, so you work smarter, not harder. Okay. Resting can mean actually taking a nap, but it can also mean prioritizing time with your friends, meal prepping, a bedtime ritual. This is what my clients have done to negotiate a lower FTE and higher pay. It starts here with our nervous system and resting and playing. Okay. One of my clients recently created a workout routine in January, and now it's April, and it's had this rippling effect of improving her parenting burnout, negotiating partnership, all because of her nervous system. Okay. So I want you to see that this is reachable, this is attainable for you, not in the future, but right now. Okay. So, how do you give yourself more time? How do you slow down? We've been duped about the 8 to 5 job, right? There's so much that goes beyond seeing patients, right? The mental load. I want you, not today, but another day, to do an exercise where you do an energy and time audit. This is what I do with my clients. I want you to take a day and write everything you do down. Keep a notepad or a notes app out and document your life, all the tasks you do, a running list. And at the end of the day, I want you to take a look at the list and ask yourself, what can I delete? This is so freeing. I want you to ask yourself, is this going to make a difference in 5 years from now? If not, delete it off your to-do list. What can I delegate? That's the second question. I know the perfectionism, the control comes out, imposter syndrome. Imagine you are holding a backpack and it's filled with heavy books, and each of your tasks is a heavy book. And if you saw a child or a colleague carrying a heavy bag, you would ask if they need help. For us, we carry our heavy backpacks so well. We are physically and mentally so strong that we wear it well, but it's tiring. And just because you carry that heavy bag of mental load well doesn't mean that you have to keep carrying it forever. So ask for help, delegate tasks, stop hiding in low value tasks like laundry, if you don't enjoy laundry, or emails that your admin can send, or projects that aren't paid or not aligned for you. Third question, what can I automate? This is where AI can come in handy. This is where your calendar can become a tool. This is also a really good use of husbands, partners, okay? They don't know what you need help with, so you need to communicate. Hey, every Wednesday, throw in a load of towels for me since you're working from home. Specific, direct, it can be so helpful. Every time I get something, I calendar it in my email, and there's multiple steps. Like recently, I got emailed about my girls' ballet recital. I texted my parents to be there. I made sure I blocked off my clinic template, and I put it in our shared family calendar so my husband, who gets alerts, could see that that's what was going on that day. And then think about not just the time audit and where time is leaking, but where is your energy leaking to? Okay. I often have clients who come to me and say they don't have time to work out. They don't have time to meal prep. They don't have time to sleep. Okay. So then I say, okay, where is the time going and where's your energy going? Energy could be spent ruminating about patient hurts at night, thinking about a patient challenge over and over again in the shower. Okay. Energy leaks, especially at night, because things get quiet. We get still, we start to doom scroll. I deserve to doom scroll but it goes from 5 minutes to 30 minutes, right? Oftentimes we're trying to fill a need with scrolling and numbing out or binge eating at night. I used to eat a whole Trader Joe's flourless chocolate cake at night. Again, it goes back to our nervous system doing what are my thoughts, what are my emotions, and what are my actions? Are my actions in line with that healthy and wealthy attending mindset of being a joyful and present person? Just something to think about. I have a whole guide on how to save more time, 10 ways to save 10 hours, and I'm going to email it out with this masterclass. So that is your freebie. Yay, another freebie. Strategy 2, to rest and play, activate your right brain. Okay, I love this book, Whole Brain Living by Jill Bolte Taylor. She's a neuroanatomist who suffered a left-sided hemispheric stroke. And she reports it was the happiest, most joyful she has ever felt because she tapped into her right brain more. Our right brain thrives on creativity, intuition, presence, while our left brain drives logic, planning, and analysis. When we shift from output to experience and choose activities where there's no productivity goal, That's how we draw in more creativity, joy, and presence. Okay. This is how we rewire our nervous system. This is how we restore energy for problem solving and patient care and growing a business. You do not need to suffer a stroke to activate your right brain. You can activate your right brain through creative pursuits like doodling, painting, dancing, yoga, board games. I recently picked up Mahjong. Okay, laughter with friends, stargazing, imaginative play with your kids. We are so left brain and we use a lot of our left brain that it's also time to exercise our right brain. A lot of us feel this physician mom guilt, this push and pull, and it's really a push and pull between the two sides of our brain. Again, nothing is wrong with you. It's just how your brain has been wired. So our left brain emotion relies on analysis, execution, organization. Okay, this is where we focus on producing more RVUs, more procedures. This translates into our brain never turning off. Our right brain taps into emotions, creativity. Okay, this translates into us feeling guilt when we're at work due to fear of missing out and being a bad mom, not being with our kids, right? We understand what our kids need. That's our right brain. So many of us don't voice it, but we have parenting burnout. We are at home with our kids, but our mind is somewhere else. We snap at our kids and get irritated because maybe it's not that daydreamy version we had of us being at home with them. And maybe it's because we just delivered bad news to a patient. Okay, there's nothing wrong with you. It's the push and pull between our left and right brain characters. And again, it's not about quieting one versus the other. It's about exercising the one that's not being exercised, that right brain. When you create time for yourself, that's when the real change starts happening. When Simone Biles took a break from gymnastics after the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, she returned to become the most decorated gymnast in US history in the Paris 2024 Olympics. Okay, step 5 is owning your power. So we talked about clarity. We talked about being brave and breaking the rules. We talked about letting go of ego. Step 4, slowing down, giving yourself more time. Number 5 is owning your power. Again, this is why I said I'm not special. We can all do this together. You don't have to wait 10 years in medicine till you're retired to experience freedom and flexibility in your life. You don't need to create a side gig. You don't need to go part-time if you don't want to go part-time. You don't need to invest in real estate to get more money to have freedom and flexibility. Those are all great things. But I want to show you how it really stems from your mindset. When I hear the healthcare system is broken and we need to fix it to fix burnout, I agree. The healthcare system is broken and does not support women in medicine, especially moms in medicine. But even if we fixed all the things in healthcare, there would still be a portion of burnout that stems from ourselves as women in medicine. This is what I call managing our 20%. So 80% of burnout is due to the healthcare system that's out of our control, but 20% of our burnout is due to ourselves. Perfectionism that comes from ourselves, unrealistic expectations, guilt and pressure that comes from ourselves. Okay. I like to think of mindset as a pair of glasses, and the prescription can be changed. Our mindset is the lens we choose to view our world through, and our mindset is shaped by many factors: how we grew up, the values impressed upon us, our society, due to our gender. We have the choice to put on a different set of glasses. We can change the prescription, right? And how we view our work and home. And it starts with, how do I identify? We talked about that. Do I identify as a burnt out and stressed out woman, or do I identify as a healthy, wealthy attending with more peace, presence, and health? When we change the lens or our mindset that we view our world through, our thoughts change, our emotions change, and thereby our actions change. And this is what leads to success and balance. Not waiting for someone else to give us a raise, okay? Because we negotiated it for ourselves. We asked for it. Not waiting for the healthcare system to change so we can have freedom and flexibility in our schedule. Not waiting for some external factor to give us peace and presence. We can choose to give that to ourselves. This is how we evolve, through our mindset, once you've regulated your nervous system. Okay. So when we notice the mental load that we are carrying, and I love this visual from Liz and Molly from Instagram, we can absolutely create a shield of healthy boundaries. This is our mindset. These are all the tools we've been talking about. Okay. To stop these things from raining down on us. Okay. We have that power. We can't stop the rain. We can't choose what happens at work, right? Pain, disappointment will happen, but it's what you do with that pain and disappointment. Do you choose to suffer or do you choose to grow? Okay. Learn and grow. The second part of this is knowing your numbers. You have to know your numbers, your RVU targets, your production, your RVUs versus collections, your overhead. Okay. We do not talk about finances and financial wealth enough in medical school. Okay. You do not need a business degree to understand your finances. You just have to believe in yourself and your worth. And you have to ask for these numbers. You don't have to create these numbers yourself. There is somebody at work that has this data. You'd be surprised what you can negotiate for. Perhaps it's going from a salaried position to collections basis. That can 2x your income just with that change. Again, it's about knowing your RVU targets, and maybe you've surpassed them and you're working full time and you're going, as an Energizer bunny, you're wearing yourself out. Maybe you can slow down a bit. Or perhaps you love efficiency and you could see the same amount of patients in a shorter period of time, make the same money, work less days. There's so much opportunity here, but no one talks about it. Okay, so important for you to know your numbers, consult with your admin. And this is what we do in my group coaching program. We bring these questions to the group. We're all in all different settings, academics, private practice, our own practices. Okay, this is how I now work 2 days a week clinically and make the same as I did 4 days a week. Okay, it's amazing. Own your power. Some other ideas of how to work 20% less at your job without making 20% less. Lots of studies, especially by the AMA, have looked at how much time physicians spend on charts. We spend about 4 hours per day, 5 days a week. That's 20 hours right there, finishing charts when you're already done with the patient. I recommend finishing your charts after you finish seeing the patient. This is what we work on in coaching. You can do this. You can close your charts after you see a patient, at least most of the time. You can start your chart review in the room with the patient. We talk about these strategies. This saves time outside of that clinic visit. You can start setting a time limit review for your OR cases, and you don't need to keep reviewing those OR cases, okay? That can save you a couple hours a week. You can start batching your emails in EMR. We talk about a clinical efficiency. This in and of itself is a huge time suck, okay? It is possible to cut down on all these hours without changing your job, without taking worse care of your patients. This is how you work 20% less. Okay. I know this will vary based on your field and your specialty, but I've seen this time and time again. When you look at your charting, when you look at the EMR messages and how much time you're spending on them, this is an area where you can create more freedom by letting go and decreasing the time spent. Okay. So let's recap the 5 steps to sustainable work-life balance: clarity, breaking the rules, envisioning your future, letting go of that ego, slowing down, and owning your power. Okay. This is all part of the mental load management system that I take my clients through. Like we talked about, this happens through simple and realistic mindset and lifestyle shifts so that these become your new autopilot over that med student trainee mindset autopilot. It's about getting the reps in and creating that new identity to become a healthy and wealthy attending. The result is you enjoy more peace and presence and less guilt. Why is it so important to work on this now? Not 10 years from now, not when you've made it in medicine, because there's loss of opportunity. Okay. Studies have shown that over the course of a female physician's career in the US, we earn on average $2 million less than our male counterparts, even after differences in income, hours, clinical revenue, practice type, and specialty are accounted for. Okay, we need to negotiate for ourselves and know our worth. Loss of time, loss of health, you saw my story, loss of peace and presence, loss of income. This is why regulating our nervous system is so important right now, not in the future. Again, I want you to imagine that future that is within reach, waking up with peace and presence, leading your team with confidence, seeing your calendar reflect your priorities. At work, you feel like your time is worth it when you're away from your kids. Seamlessly transition from work to home life and have time and energy to be present with your kids and yourself. You absolutely deserve that, and you can get that. If it's all right with you, I'd love to share what it looks like to put this into practice, what it looks like to work with me. Remember this formula of the 4 corners, okay? Physical health, mindset health, spiritual health, and social health. This is what we work on inside my program, which gives you more clarity, confidence, and peace. I invite you to join me in the Mental Load Reset for Women in Medicine. This is an 8-week program to less burnout and more work-life balance. You can stop trying to figure out how to wing work-life balance on your own. And you can go from feeling like you're in that yellow light state, that survival zone state, to intentional leadership of your life, where you take power back and practice medicine sustainably. Or maybe if it's not staying in medicine, figuring out your next steps. All right, in this 2-month mastermind, you will learn how to install my mental load management system. This is through coaching, a community support, and a curriculum. This system works even if you're on call, if you're traveling for a conference, if you have a sick kid. Okay, we meet twice a month. These calls are optional. They're all recorded. Everyone's busy. If you can't make a call, it's okay. It will be uploaded. We have weekly accountability in our community. We are all a community of women doctors. We get each other. We show up for one another. We coach one another. You also get personalized email access to me for coaching on things that might be specific in your situation. Weekly coaching support. I review, you send me your wellness reviews, submit your routines, mindset blocks, challenges for direct feedback. You can even share emails with me that you feel sticky and icky about with your admin. We work through it here. You have a risk-free guarantee if you join. If you join and within 7 days, you're like, this program isn't for me, no problem. Just email me, no questions asked. 2 ways to pay. And we also have CME. You get 10 CME credits for this, which is amazing. This mastermind is holistic. This type of programming you don't see at your hospitals, right? Your hospitals don't want you to slow down. This is evidence-based, habit change, energy optimization, nervous system regulation, and ongoing support. Common questions I get. Will this work for me? No guarantees, but I have lots of healthy and happy clients that we talked about before. This is not for you if you're looking for a quick fix for burnout. We are talking about sustainable change, which takes time. If you want someone else to do the work for you, you have to put the work in, whether that's listening to the calls, even if you can't show up for them, listening to the curriculum on the go, whatever it might be, you have to put the work in. And if you want to wait until you have more time. This program actually gives you back time and money because you are saving energy. You are reducing your mental load, freeing up mental and physical energy for yourself, for your family, or to enjoy creative pursuits. This coaching program is not therapy, so I want to address that. If you have unaddressed medical conditions, if you have a toxic working environment, coaching can help bring clarity and confidence, but you have to take care of your physical well-being. Coaching can help you make decisions, okay? But it can't fix your everything within your physical health. So I do recommend seeing your doctor, continue seeing your therapist. I have many women who are in therapy and coaching at the same time or have done therapy in the past and are looking for coaching to help move them forward, okay? How long will it take me to feel better? Usually you start noticing changes within 6 to 8 weeks, as early as 4 weeks. Again, if you follow the program as laid out, you're going to see changes faster, but 6 to 8 weeks is a good indicator. The hidden cost of staying stuck, okay? Staying stuck in reaction mode in that yellow light zone. You are constantly buried in EMR tasks, task switching, losing 10 plus hours a week. You feel guilty for not finishing your charts and you just want to come home and crash at 5 p.m. or scroll and binge on snacks. You stay in people-pleasing mode, and this leads to missed opportunities for growth, leadership, freedom, and flexibility. The cost of staying stuck means time, presence, energy, and costing you wealth. Okay? You don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to stay underpaid or overworked. A previous mastermind client shared with me, my energy has improved. I used to sleep on the couch on my weekends. Now I'm running around and being much more productive. Adding exercise into my week has been a game changer. I also like using the 9-minute strategy to get small tasks done that have been distracting me on my to-do list. I avoid distractions by not checking my email constantly. So many useful strategies I've picked up over 6 weeks. I'm a much better version of myself after 6 weeks of coaching. Like I said, that 6 to 8 week mark is like the magic time frame. I'm happier, more energetic, more motivated and focused. The list goes on. I enjoy time with my kids so much more. And I really feel like I'm getting quality time with them where I'm not thinking about work. Everyone around me, especially my husband, is seeing a big change since starting the program. I'm motivated to continue these skills and habits and have developed since starting the program because I want to keep these good vibes going. So again, birthday bonus for you guys. Enrollment ends on my birthday, 4/17. Next cohort enrolls this fall. But this time you do get a free extra month of group coaching. So instead of 2 months, you get 3 months. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I know your time is valuable and I don't take that lightly. Thank you for showing up for yourself with your attention, openness, and presence. It's truly an honor to share this space with you. If you want to take this further, continue to follow me on Instagram at Shawnee Esperaz MD. This is my email if you have any questions about my program. Alrighty, take care, guys.